After the decline of the Mauryan Empire, which started with the death of Ashoka in about 232 BC, this is the date when Ashoka died, various foreign invading kingdoms came to India. Foreign invading dynasties came to India. If we are to give the chronological order of those dynasties, the first to come to India were the Indo-Greeks. Indo-Greeks were followed by Sakas. Sakas were followed by Parthians. And Parthians were followed by Kushans. Sakas were followed by Kushans. There was a king called Vima Kadphises. This Vima Kadphises was a powerful king of the Kushana dynasty. This Kushana dynasty was very huge, and these Kushanas actually they were divided into various Kshatrapas, they were divided into various provinces, and after some time this Vima Kadphises was able to bring together all those provinces into one unit. At the time of his death, of Vima Kadphises, when he died, the important ruler of the Kushana dynasty, when he died, his empire was as large as, on one side it touched the borders of Greek Roman Empire. Okay? It was such, on another side, his empire touched the borders of China, including, on the southern side, it touched the borders of modern Uttar Pradesh. Such was the extension of his, this empire. When he died, at the time of his death, there was a king, there was a person known as Kanishka. Now, Kanishka was one of the governors of Vima Kadphises. Kanishka was the governor or the Kshatrapa. Kshatrapa is the exact term. Kshatrapa means governor in their terminology. Kanishka was the Kshatrapa. Kanishka was the governor of Vima Kadphises. He was the governor of eastern province. Alright. Kanishka was the governor of eastern province, which included parts of India as well. So when Vima Kadphises died, so naturally Kushana became the emperor of the eastern areas. But somehow there was a war of succession which was going on between the 5 different provincial governors. He was one among those governors, but he somehow managed to come over. He succeeded. He somehow managed to come over the enemies, come over the other opponents which were against him. He succeeded in carving out the huge and large empire for himself. This Kanishka. That means this Kanishka was the most powerful emperor among all these dynasties, among all the kings. After the fall of the Mauryan Empire, the post-Mauryan period, after the Mauryan period, the history of India is unique. Because it was during those times that the foreign invaders and foreign these kingdoms came to India, and they were absorbed by as I told you, they were absorbed by the socio-religious systems of India. They lost their original identity. And among those, Kanishka is the biggest example. This Kanishka, who was the Kshatrapa, who was the governor of the eastern provinces of Vima Kadphises, he eventually became the great emperor of India. And this Kanishka, he ruled India from 78 AD up to 101 AD. When he ascended the throne in 78 AD, so he started a new era that is known as that is known as Sakaira. He founded Sakaira in 78 AD. If an objective comes to you that who founded Sakaira in 78 AD, so it was actually Kanishka. The government of India has adopted this calendar as our national calendar, starting from this 78 AD. Remember this. So the extension of the empire, the extension of the Kanishka, his empire was, it was touching the borders. It was touching the borders of Khurasan in the north, in the northern side. This in the northern side it was touching this Khurasan. On Khurasan will come on the western side. I think it will come on the western side, not this. Sorry. The Emperor of Kanishka, if we are saying from the northern side, it touched Kashmir. Its empire, it extended from Kashmir in the north up to Konkan in the south. That is present day Goa area. And from east, it touched Khurasan. Khurasan, you can say the present borders of Iran. Khurasan up to modern Bihar or UP, modern Bihar, uske kuch portions. So this, you see, the extension of his empire. Such was the extension, such was the important ruler, as was called as the Kanishka. See how huge his empire was, and it included the present day areas of, what we can say, the present day areas of the states of Punjab. It included Uttar Pradesh, it included parts of Madhya Pradesh as well. You can see the regions which comes into into the area of influence of Kanishka. His capital was Peshawar. Remember this. He ruled from Peshawar. His capital was Peshawar. He was a successful administrator. He divided his powers with different governors, with different Kshatrapas, and we don't have any evidence that there occurred a single revolt during his rule, which indicates that he was a successful administrator as well. Okay, so this is an important information about this Kanishka. Let's point out some important facts about Kanishka here, which are important from the examination point of view. The first important point you have to remember is he founded a Sakaira in 78 AD. And who was this Kanishka? He was one of the governors of Vimaka. Actually, there is a tribe. Remember it from the examination point of view. That tribe is called Yuchi tribe. What? Yuchi tribe. Remember this, this information that which Kushanas are associated with. They have their lineage, they have their ancestors associated with this Yuchi tribe. Yuchi tribe was actually a tribe, actually a dynasty which were thrown away by the Huns in the present day China. Yuchis actually they ruled in China, and from China they were thrown away by the Huns, and after that they got divided into various kingdoms and various provinces. Eventually they managed to come to India, and they overthrew these Kushanas, they overthrew these Parthians in India, and they successfully managed to rule over parts of it. This is the background of then Vimaka. After his death, Kanishka, his governor, he became the emperor of this dynasty. Okay, so about Kanishka, he issued a large number of gold coins. He issued a large number of gold coins, and these gold coins have been found across his empire. This is his important achievement. By religion, Kanishka was a Buddhist. Kanishka was a Buddhist, but he was not a bigot. He was not a conservative. He was a liberal person, and in his empire, people with the diverse origin lived. This is testified, this is evidenced by the various coins which have come to us, which have been discovered. In those coins, he has been represented. He has been represented on one side of the coin. There is the image of Kanishka. Okay. On the other side of the coin, there is the image of various deities, of various gods, of various Greek Greek deities, Greek gods or Greek deities, of various Hindu deities. Okay, Buddhist to Thai. So there is there are the symbols. There are the symbols which are representing the various religions which prevailed in his empire. He represented the sentiments of every section who lived in his empire. Persian gods and goddesses are represented there. Greek gods and goddesses are represented there. Indian gods, Buddhist images are represented there. So it shows the diversity of his empire. This upon which he ruled. Okay, this is an important information about this Kanishka. Now, there are some other achievements which are credited to Kanishka. But another achievement of Kanishka we can say is his patronage to Sanskrit language. During the time of Kanishka, Sanskrit flourished in India. He patronized that language. And there were great scholars of his times which lived under his court and who were patronized by Kanishka. Among those scholars, one important scholar and one important intellectual was Asvaghosha. There was another scholar, Nagarjuna. There was Vasumitra. Okay. There was Charaka. And various others. There were engineers called Mathara was there. He was an engineer. He lived under his court. Asvaghosha, the famous author. He has written an important piece of literature that is Buddhacharita. Buddhacharita is a book written by Asvaghosha. He has written a book called Buddhacharita, Asvaghosha. He lived under his court. He wrote in Sanskrit. Kanishka was himself a great scholar. He also composed various, Sanskrit, poetry. He was himself a great scholar, this Kanishka. Then Nagarjuna was a great exponent of Mahayana form of Buddhism. He propounded that form of Buddhism. Actually, Nagarjuna was responsible for the, this philosophy which he gave to the Mahayana form of Buddhism. Then this Vasumitra, he also was a great Sanskrit scholar who lived under his court. Charaka, he was a great physician, a doctor during those times. Charaka, he also lived under his court. Okay. So remember this information about, his patronage to Sanskrit. You just remember this fact. Then it was Kanishka who convened the fourth Buddhist council. Okay. He convened the fourth Buddhist council in Kashmir at a place called Kundanwana. So this fourth Buddhist council was convened and patronized by Kanishka. It was presided over by Vasumitra. Vasumitra was there. Under the chairmanship of Vasumitra, this fourth Buddhist council was convened. And it was at this fourth Buddhist council that the Buddhism got divided into two sects, two parts. One was the Hinayana and other was the Mahayana form of Buddhism. Hinayana was the original, those followers of Buddhism who believed in the original teachings of Buddha. Those were the Hinayanas, and the Mahayanas who innovated some new things to the Buddhism. And about this fourth Buddhist council, this was there that the decision was taken that Buddhism should spread to the other parts of the world. No doubt, Ashoka, before him, Ashoka convened the third Buddhist council. Some missionaries were, deputed to various parts in order to spread the Buddhism. Kanishka did it for the Mahayana form of Buddhism. You can say that what Ashoka was for the Hinayanas, Kanishka was for the Mahayanas. Kanishka patronized the Mahayana form of Buddhism and he deputed various scholars and various persons to the different lands, in China, in present-day Tibet, in order to propagate his form of Buddhism there. Remember this information about this Kanishka. Now, One more information which is very important as far as the history of Kanishka is concerned. It is the Indo-Roman trade. Indo-Roman trade. The trade between India and the Roman Empire, it was in a flourishing state during those times. You might have remembered about the Silk Route. Kushanas controlled their Silk Route. The Silk Route passed through the empire of Kushanas. And they enriched their empire, they enriched their province by the collection of various taxes and customs which they derived from, which they collected from the traders passing through that Silk Route. This trade was of such an importance to the Indians that Romans complained. They complained about the drain of gold. There was a scholar called Pliny. Pliny complained to his king in the Roman Empire that actually we are draining. There is a drain of gold which is going on. Drain of gold. And this drain of gold needs to be stopped. He regretted for such a positive, such a balance, such a favorable balance of trade towards India. As they used to get the products of the Indian origin, and they used to send huge amount of gold to the India. Through the medium of which they were able to send back the products of the Indian origin to their own empire. This is testified by the huge number of coins of the Greek or of the Roman origin, which have come to us, which have been discovered across the empire of this Kanishka. So this was an important aspect of this Kanishka, of this Kanishka, who actually promoted trade and commerce in his empire. Their trade and commerce was highly in favor of India, as we were able to receive huge quantities of gold and silver from the Roman Empire. Okay, so this was another important information about Kanishka. Then about Kanishka, he was a great builder also. He was a great constructor. He was a great builder. He built a tower. He built a tower at Taxila. Okay. He built a stupa. Stupa and monastery at Peshawar. Now what is stupa? Stupa is a structure which is built, a building which is built over the relics of a Buddhist or a Buddhist monk, of Lord Buddha or a Buddhist monk. We have the famous Sanchi Stupa in Madhya Pradesh, in Bhopal, which was built by Ashoka, that Sanchi Stupa. That is the greatest stupa in India, which was built by Ashoka. Similarly, Kanishka also tried to build a stupa at Peshawar, which is an important stupa there. In addition to this Kanishka, he founded few towns also. Like one important town is Kanishkapura in Kashmir. Okay, the town Kanishkapura in Kashmir has been founded by Kanishka also. So he was a great builder as well. Furthermore, Kanishka patronized the Gandhara school of art, the Gandhara and the Mathura school of art. He patronized Gandhara and the Mathura school of art. Gandhara and the Mathura school of art. So about Gandhara school of art, you must be knowing that I have just given the lecture upon the Gandhara and Mathura school of art. So you must be knowing everything about the Gandhara and this Mathura school of art. So this was patronized by Kanishka. Then it was during his times. It was during the times of this Kushanas. not specifically, we can say not specifically during the time of Kushan, because Kanishka came after that event. Actually, there's a date around 64 AD that we are seeing that Buddhism was introduced to China. So the person who was responsible for introduction of Buddhism to China is Kashyap Martanga. Is Kashyap Martanga. This Kashyap Martanga is a person who introduced Buddhism into China. It was during the Kushana times that Buddhism was introduced into China. Then, these are the important events which pertains to Kanishka. And Kanishka, when he died, he was succeeded by his son. Although there is a controversy whether he was his son or a general, but most of the historians say that he was his son. He was succeeded by a person known as Vashishka. Then we have Hushishka, Huvishka and all those kind of persons, but they were not important. Their only and a single ruler of this Kushana dynasty was important. That is the Kanishka dynasty. The Kanishka is a person who ruled one of the largest empires in India ever ruled by a person. He must be rated as one of the greatest kings of India for his achievements. Although he was a consolidator, he didn't try to go towards more and more wars. He tried to consolidate his empire, and he was a liberal person. He patronized the persons with diverse backgrounds. He tried to give respect to the various religions which prevailed during his during his rule over India. And it's all about the important achievements of Kanishka, which you need to remember for the examination point of view. So thanks for today.